Story 1. Years ago, I had a different landline number and started getting all these calls demanding to speak to the boss of Access Chemicals. It got tiring, like I nearly didn't want to answer my phone because it was becoming a little anxiety-provoking. Then one day, Karen, are you the manager? Me. The manager of what? Access Chemicals. We had a rude delivery guy boss the reception ladies around. Sorry, you've been misled. Excuse me, did you just interrupt me? I'm just trying to say this is my own private number, and you've got a fake invoice from a fake company. Well, anyway, now that you've stopped interrupting me, I'll explain. This rude delivery guy demanded a cash check from our company for a bunch of cleaning chemicals he was delivering, but we didn't order it. I'm sitting in my living room. Okay, but we'd like to speak to the manager to complain about your delivery staff and arrange a refund. I'm trying to watch my show, and you're interrupting. I then hung up. I was watching live to air TV, back before I even owned a video cassette recorder. Karen rang again. Did you just hang up on me? Yes, I'm not Access Chemicals. You've been misled, and I'm trying to watch my show. I hung up again. Karen rang again. Can you stop hanging up on me? I don't understand. Why are you watching TV when I've asked you to put me through to the manager? Because I'm done with work today, and I'm not at work. I'm at home, in my living room trying to watch TV. Even though the number on your invoice is actually my number, the whole thing is fake. You've been misled. So it is your number. Okay then, let me tell you that these chemicals are garbage. They don't even seem to clean. This new detail nearly made me laugh out loud. But it's a fraud. Really? You're admitting it? No, I'm telling you, I get these calls all the time and someone has ripped you off using my phone number. But you said it's your number. I hung up and ignored the phone for the rest of the night. Another time, I had a Gary shouting that he was going to call the police, complain to the ombudsman, etc. I just gave up and said, fine, do it. Please, find these people and put them in jail. I'm sick of my number being misused on those invoices. I'm in my living room trying to have dinner. Goodbye. This guy ended up doing some research and got back to me a few days later to apologize and explain more about the scam he had learned, and that he had reported it. It stopped after about 2 months, probably 10 to 15 different businesses scammed across that time. Fun times. What are you meant to do? Go over the whole story each and every time because people are a bit irate and not thinking clearly. Story 2. So, I'm 24, 22 at the time, and I worked as a station agent in a French airport. Those are the people in suits that check you and your luggage in, and even board you or deboard you from planes. I worked with a French company for 8 months during the summer of 2018. Working there was the best. Great hours, big pay. People are difficult, but honestly, not so bad once you learn how to deal with them properly. One of my favorite parts of this job was the hours. Either from 4 a.m. to 2 p.m., or from 1 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. No weekends, nor public holidays. For most people, that's probably bad, but for me, it was paradise. We would get days off by cycle, and having days off in the middle of the week rocks. Go get groceries with almost nobody in stores, all governmental agencies open, and fewer people all around because they are working. A paradise. Now, for the first 5 months there, I would always come dressed in a suit, full suit, even in the middle of summer, with a tie and everything, so I would go home or stop at stores in the suit as well. After a while, I got tired and started to change clothes arriving and leaving from work. This story, of course, happened when I was still coming and leaving from work in full suit. It was around 3 months after I started. By then, wearing a suit became natural. No more of that weird, uncomfortable feeling while wearing it. It became normal. Even more, I got used to changing my attitude while wearing it, like my posture, and people, even in the streets, would think that I am some successful person just because I wear a suit. And I also got quite used to noticing people needing help, problematic customers, and all that. I leave work at 3 or 4 p.m., have to stay longer to cover for someone, and head to a store to bring a faulty electronic I bought there. I walk to the store, wearing only my suit and carrying the thing in a bag. I head toward customer service and immediately notice a man, hand on the counter. Leaning toward the cashier, she'll be Julie. and all her colleagues look tense, eyeing the guy. I shrug. Not my problem. I'm not paid to deal with that one. I turn to sit and notice that all the seats are taken, so I stay up and pull out my phone. Meanwhile, this guy starts to speak louder and louder. From what I got, the issue was that he wanted to use the store card of his wife. But the store policy is that you can't use the card of another customer, even if you're their relative, as the card can be used to make credit. The guy gets more and more heated up and starts calling around for other people to join. That immediately ticks me off. When I was in training to become a station agent, we learned about different types of customers. I won't go into detail, but this guy is what we call a red customer. Someone that will rally others to help them get what they want. I see Julie, on the verge of tears, and I try to think of something to do while the guy starts throwing slurs at her. I finally notice a paper hanging near the counter and take action. I drop my bag, adjust my tie, take my best manager face, and walk to the guy. As soon as he notices me, he smirks and turns to me. "You're the manager," to which I reply, "Yes," while looking at both him and the cashier, as if to judge the situation. Julie turns white. He points at her and says, "This employee is discriminating against me. I want to use a discount on my wife's store card. I have her ID. There is no reason that." I then take a step forward. I'm not tall, and this guy is taller than me, but he still stops while I get into his face. Without a word, I point at the paper I saw earlier. It's a notice saying that any kind of harassment or insult towards an employee will result in a lawsuit and fine for the customer. It's his time to turn white or whiter. He opens his mouth, but I'm faster. She is right. If you want to use that card, you need your wife to be here. Now I have to ask you to leave, or I'll have to call security. But first, you will apologize. You've been beyond insulting to her. A security guard that is always near steps closer. He turns to the woman, apologizes in a weak voice, and quickly walks off. I walk to Julie and ask her if she's okay. She thanks me profusely. Then, another worker comes to me and asks me what to do with a product returned by another client. I giggle and, pulling my airport ID, simply state, "Sorry, I don't work here. I just can't stand people like this." I was allowed to pass first, got a refund, and smiles from everyone on the team. A good day. Story 3. This story begins when I, a 20-year-old male, was shopping at my local grocery store. I'm just minding my own business when I hear someone over my shoulder ranting about how soft the apples on display were. I turn around and see a lady right in front of me fuming. For storytelling purposes, she will be known as Karen, myself as me, and there's also the helpful employee. Karen: "Excuse me, do you know where I can find some better apples? I've felt all these apples, and they're all soft." At first, I thought to myself, why are you even touching all the food during a health crisis? Little did I know, the worst was yet to come. Me: "I'm sorry, I don't work here." "Well, you're wearing a mask. All the workers here are wearing a mask." This is a good spot to mention I live in a very conservative town where people, especially the older ones, haven't been social distancing much or wearing masks, and sure enough, this lady was no exception. "I'm telling you, I don't work here. Now please leave me alone." "Where's your manager? I'm personally going to have you fired for this." At this point, I'd had enough and began to walk away. This was until I felt something hard hit me in the shoulder. This lady just threw one of the apples at me. "Did you just throw that at me?" I asked. You weren't listening to me, so I had to take matters into my own hands. At this point, an actual employee walks over and sees this commotion and asks us what's going on. "Your employee here is being very unhelpful, and I'd like to speak to a manager about it immediately." What she didn't know is that this helpful employee saw the whole thing and isn't buying a word of what Karen is saying. The employee said, "Ma'am, I saw the whole thing, and I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store now." "What do you mean? I haven't done anything." It takes the employee threatening to call the police before Karen finally gets the message and leaves the store. The employee apologizes profusely and says this isn't the first time he's dealt with that same woman, and that if she does it again, he's going to call the cops for real. After that, I just continued with my shopping like nothing had happened and was just trying to forget about it. Looking back, I wished I would have said something sassy to the lady as she was leaving. But honestly, I was just too much in shock of what happened to do anything. Story 4. This happened just this morning. I had to collect a jacket from a seamstress and had to pop into a petrol station on the way. Now, I've worked in petrol stations for years and still do. The last one had full American-style service, and I was the attendant for several years. I left that place years ago and went to another. As I was leaving, a little Toyota pulled in. A woman of about 60 years jumped out. "Old Toyota lady, can you fill my car?" Immediately spotted she was talking to me. My mistake. Old habits. A. I'm tired, having not long finished a night shift. I am a retail vampire. Come join us, the undead. Muhaha. Come fill up my car, she repeated, clearly annoyed. Me. I don't work at this garage, I shouted back over the traffic noise. You work at that one out of town. And. Please note, I'm tired, hungry, and have to complete my vital mission. You'd understand if you know the jacket's owner. Then that means you work at the rest of them. I've read a load of I don't work here lady stories, and I don't want to go through the crap of Karens, so I said, no, I don't, and got in my car and drove off. There are traffic lights right outside the station exit, and it's red. I heard her say, well, I never, and saw her take a picture of my car as I waited at the red. It turned green before anything happened. It's just the way she spoke, that tone that retail workers everywhere hear before getting a migraine. I was too tired to give a damn. Besides, I didn't work there. The old Toyota lady did call in to complain. As in, she went to my station and collared my manager. Not through corporate, but drove to my station and talked to my manager who has worked there for 35 years. She takes no prisoners. She had to confirm it was me because I work solely nights, and that confirmed that I was off the clock. Not in uniform, my everyday is dress trousers, plain shirts, and black frock coat. And the location of the incident was mainly not on our premises. My manager basically told her to grow up, stop wasting her time, and get out. She has met customers like this and knows they will be laughed out the building no matter who she talks to, so no damns were given. Story 5. A 20-year-old male took my friend to the grocery store today and waited for him in the car. While I was sitting there, the woman parked next to me decided to just push her cart between our cars and leave it there. Well, that doesn't sit right with me because if you give even one half of one care, you can find a cart returned somewhere nearby, and in our circumstance, there was one less than 30 feet away. So I got out of my car and grabbed her cart to take it back, but I also made a rude hand gesture. Well, I put her cart back and turned around to see her approaching me. She asked me if I made a rude gesture at her, and I said yeah because you didn't put your cart back, and it's literally the easiest thing in the world. She started lecturing me about respect and the unacceptability of making rude gestures. Next thing I know, she's telling me to come along with her so we can go find my manager. Well, I obviously don't work here. I'm not wearing a company uniform, and in fact, I'm wearing sweats and an old t-shirt with holes in it. I very bluntly state that I don't work here, and the look on her face was priceless. She no longer had any way to make me atone for my egregious sin. She stuttered on her words for a second before asking me if I had parents who ever taught me respect. I responded, obviously I do. They taught me enough respect to put my cart back. Well, she had no clue how to respond to it and shuffled back to her car, leaving me feeling proud of my small victory against the Karenhood. Story 7. Eat my arrangement. I once applied and interviewed for a delivery job at Edible Arrangements. I was really hopeful as I thought I had a very good chance at the job. I was told that if I was hired, I'd be starting not that Monday, but the next one about 10 days ahead, and that they'd call when they decided. 12 days later, I got a very angry call from the manager of Edible Arrangements asking where in the world I'd been when I was supposed to be working. Apparently, they'd forgotten to tell me I was hired, but expected me to show up anyway. I was called in to get reprimanded until I showed them my phone that proved I hadn't been called by them since the day before the interview. She then said I should have assumed I had the job and been there with or without the call, and said I could have my job back if I apologized for being so irresponsible. I left. Would you like me to explain or break down any part of this revised text?